Chapter 13 The Missing Piece. Princess Silenda woke, sweating and gasping. "Oh, thank goodness you are all right!" Her mother hugged her tightly. Her grandmother and father sighed with relief, as did Cara, though she frowned after she did so. Prince Gero, being a 15-year-old boy, tried to hide the relief he felt. King Ridero would have hugged her if his wife had not beaten him to it, and with how much larger and stronger he was than the princess, he had always been worried of accidentally hurting her. The girl's family were sitting around her bed, and Cara stood a little ways off. She blinked. What had happened? Why was she in her bed in night clothes? Why had she reacted that way when she woke? "What happened, Musica?" she asked. Her memories went from practicing her harp to waking up in her bed. It was annoying, this jump. There was very clearly something missing, but she did not know what. Queen Silenda pulled back, frowning. "I was hoping you could answer that very same question." Princess Silenda blinked. "What? You went missing? For half a day? Maybe an hour after lunch to well after Shedyenyegy started." The girl blinked again. "What day is it? And time?" Queen Silenda frowned. "Shedyenyegy, between Manmishe and Dimanyi. The third of Hewatnelomi, Nairoetesi?" Princess Silenda asked. Queen Silenda smiled. "How long do you think you have been asleep, Silekisa?" "I just thought I should make sure." "Is there anything you need?" Princess Silenda frowned. "Food. I do not think I have eaten anything since... goodness, 2 days ago." Everyone was supposed to fast from Yorahenya to Lacaria, or from Jamire to Lacaria if they went in the evening, and she had not eaten her lunch. Queen Silenda nodded and looked over at Cara. "Could you find her something?" Cara frowned. "I'll have her lunch from yesterday, if that's all right. It's cold, but it's food." There was an edge to her voice. Her feelings on the situation with Elinsco and Thefia were a combination of anger and bitter vindication. The former, because a girl had been thrown into the dungeon for something she did not do, and joined by her friend because he defended her, and the latter because this was exactly why Lady Quinia had gone to war. "It is fine," said the princess. It might have been old, but it was food, and she did not want to make Cara walk all the way to the kitchens. She was pretty sure if she asked her to get more food, King Ridero would insist on going instead. Cara nodded and gave it to her. Using heat from the fireplace and fire magic, she heated up the food. "So you do not remember anything?" Via Silenda asked. Finishing the meal blessing, Princess Silenda nodded. "My memories go from practicing to waking up here." She began to eat. Cara returned to her original place. Via Silenda frowned. "So now Moria is involved in this? Why? She has nothing against you or the Arexacico that I know of." "It might not have been her." "If you are referring to sleep, I do not think that makes sense. What use is a sleeping princess? And why give you back so quickly and easily? This was not about your political or bargaining power, but your magic." Via Silenda dug her hand into her pocket. "We can speculate on what happened later. First, are you all right, Silekisa?" asked Queen Silenda. Princess Silenda frowned. "I believe so. I am hungry and..." Her frown deepened. "I feel like something is missing. Not just my memories, but something else. Not really something I need, but something I have always had." Via Silenda frowned. Her daughter and son-in-law had similar expressions. Her grandson looked confused. "Do you feel tired, Lenthakisa?" Via Silenda asked. Princess Silenda blinked. "Quite tired. Why?" Via Silenda paused, digging her hand deeper into her pocket. "I do not think I have told even you this, but do you know when Queen Mikya was injured? The stories say I helped her, but never how." Queen Silenda blinked. "That is not what I was expecting you to say at all, but go on." "In order to save her, I lent her my strength. I gave her the Exalaro Gregio. It was exhausting, and after I felt like how you describe. I felt something similar when your mother was born, and to a lesser extent when I was carrying her." Cara noticed this. It was not very useful, but it was interesting. Queen Silenda nodded. "I felt the same with you." Cara blinked and rested one hand on her stomach. As if in response, the babies kicked. Prince Gero stiffened. Princess Silenda blinked as well, her face reddening slightly. King Ridero narrowed his eyes. You are not suggesting? Of course not. Whoever did this is not a fool. At least, not as big of a fool as to anger Metis. Good, he said gravely. If that had turned out to be true, he was ready to make Garintho's reign look like the time between Queen Silenda of 100 Years' reign and King Gregio of peace times. Prince Gero and likely Zebbocron would have joined him. Perhaps the king would have done what he had wanted to do to Duke Garadezel and run over his grave with Nick. Except Duke Garadezel was not dead, so in that case it would have just been running him over. Then Queen Silenda and then Princess Silenda had spent a month trying to keep then Prince Ridero from getting Nick and riding to Miravine to run over the Duke. Just as the cats knew that Prince Gero was an impulsive fool, they also knew that once King Ridero mounted Nick, they could not be stopped. There were 2 tunes for the song about them, a drinking song and one best known for being the tune to a Feralian hymn. 2 sets of lyrics had been set to both of them, since the meter and what the tunes were associated with matched either what the song was about, the drinking song, or the character of the person it was about, the hymn tune. One, as old as their reputation, about them getting drunk and starting a one-man, one-horse crusade against Tonatera to run over their king, and the other, adapted from the original when the scandal dropped, about them getting drunk and running over Duke Garadezel. That leaves us with 3 options. She lost it, gave it to someone, or it was stolen, King Ridero continued. He frowned. Can you steal it? Via Silenta shrugged. Possibly. Knowing CO, probably. Well, I, of course, have no experience holding it, but I doubt it is the sort of thing you can just drop on accident. This leaves giving it up or having it stolen. But who has it now? Almost certainly whoever took her. So the Soledi, said Queen Silenda. Here we go, Cara thought, suppressing a sigh. He nodded. Assuming they took her, yes. Via Silenta frowned. Assuming they took her. But did they? I thought last time we had this conversation you agreed with me, said Queen Silenda. I said you could be right, not that you were. There is a difference. I do not know why Lady Quinia would do this to her. They may be on opposite sides of a war, but Lady Quinia loves her as her own daughter, and she has done nothing against her besides being born the daughter of the Queen, said Via Silenda. Princess Silenda fidgeted, though she tried to hide it. Exactly, thought Cara. She wouldn't. See, the princess understands. Via Silenda looked at her daughter, her gaze hard. And whoever did it, I am certain that Theophoncia had nothing to do with it. Princess Silenda blinked. What? Your mother thinks Theophoncia had something to do with your capture, so she put her in the dungeon, Via Silenda said. Princess Silenda gasped. What? She looked at her mother. Musica! She would not! She is my friend! The only reason they did not use Sija, except on rare occasions when it slipped out, was because of their difference in status. Clearly an act, Queen Silenda said. Sija. They were friends for months before the war started, King Ridero said. But she is half Soledo. Her father was from that tribe of traitors, and clearly she has followed suit. Ferron was a loyal soldier, King Ridero said. She is as well, and all you have done this is possibly turn her and Elinsco against you. So she betrays me and proves me right, Queen Silenda said. Cara could not stop herself from rolling her eyes, though she did stop a heavy sigh. And it would be your fault, Via Silenda said. If she begins to support Lady Quinia, it is your fault. Why should she support a queen who looks at her and can only see her father's blood? One who pays no attention to her actions and only to the accidents of her bloodline. I have already told you why I did what I did, Queen Silenda said, and that is not the conversation we are here to have. Now, I believe you are questioning why Lady Quinia would capture her own daughter. Well, who says she had anything to do with this? Via Silenda blinked. What? Maybe it was someone working alone, or with a small group. I do agree that the Lady Soledo loves Silekista. It may be the one thing we agree on. So perhaps someone thought that she would not be able to do what she needed to in order to win, and so took matters into their own hands. Oh my goodness, she actually said something right, Cara thought. And that's an interesting idea. I wonder. She frowned. But why give her back so easily? They could have ended the war right then. Perhaps if they are working against the Lady Soledo, they did not want to go that far. They simply wanted to take the Exalaro Gregio from her and return her before the Lady Soledo learned of it. Cara noted this. Perhaps. Via Silenda sounded unsure. Princess Silenda frowned. You two are agreeing with each other? King Ridero looked more scared than he did during the most passionate shouting matches. Via Silenda nodded. Yes, I realized your mother had a point when she accused the Soledi of taking you. She blinked. Oh, this is strange. I agree. Via Silenta looked at her daughter. But that does not mean you are right to throw that girl in the dungeon. Mossa, Queen Silenda said. So how did I return? That may tell us something. Princess Silenda said before they could start an argument she did not want to be caught in. A farmer named Miro found you, and on his way here found Elinsco and Lord Giuseppe, who brought you the rest of the way, Queen Silenda explained. Cara looked up. Miro? I thought that dress looked familiar. She had washed the dress Miro's wife gave to the princess, as well as the dress the girl was wearing when she was captured. Oh, well, perhaps he knows something about this. I thought so too, said King Ridero. I sent Elinsco and Giuseppe to question him. Cara noted this. Nesli on that Giuseppe also talking to them, and the girl appeared in their fields. Worrying, especially with what happened to Ferran's daughter. It was quite strange, said Queen Silenda. I believe Jarissa said there was only mud on the back of your dress and skirts, not on the hems or on your shoes. Cara nodded. Looked like you'd been dropped on your back, not like you were walking and fell. Yes, quite strange, King Ridero said. Perhaps Elinsco and Giuseppe will find something useful. Princess Silenda frowned. Perhaps. Lanczú and Zebbocron traveled to Miro's village and found him outside, working with his family. Besides him, there were 2 women, a married woman around his age, his wife, and a widow who looked a few years older, and several children. The youngest looked to be about 3, while the oldest looked to be a few years younger than Lanczú. Miro looked up when he noticed them. Good morning. You the chief from last night? He asked. Now that it was daytime, it was easier to see him. His hair was sandy blonde, his eyes were brown, and like all married men, there was a braid on the left side of his head. He looked to be about the same age as Via Farelia. Yes, I'm Lanczú and he's Zebbocron, said Lanczú. Like last time, he was hiding his accent more than usual. Often, when he was trying harder than usual to hide that he was berated, he would use his full first name, or Lanczú. He was carrying the dress Miro's wife had given to the princess. Zebbocron sighed. My goodness, do you know anything? He muttered. Elinsco is a luscion of some nameless town, son of Caraca, he said, louder. Lanczú stiffened as Zebbocron said his second name. You know that ain't where I'm from, he said through gritted teeth. He struggled not to let his accent through. He was glad that he was still the son of Caraca. The fact that Menzies Lisier was his grandfather was a secret he had been trying hard to protect. Zebbocron smiled and looked at him. Oh, really? Then where are you from? Lanczú stopped and sighed. Then he looked up. Oh, my goodness, you said my name! Zebbocron frowned a little, annoyed that he kept commenting, but otherwise ignored him and looked back to the farmers. I am Giuseppe Evadello Licio Basceso Elijo Aquison of Miravine, son of Eschazintelia. Lanczú was relieved he had not said his title. He found it interesting that Zebbocron always identified himself as the son of his mother rather than his father, except in very formal contexts. He would do the same if his father were Duke Caradezo, but he still found it interesting. Miro blinked and exchanged a confused glance with his wife. So, what's this about? He asked. Zebbocron was a little annoyed that he had not questioned why he had so many names or connected him to his parents. Perhaps they do live under rocks, he thought disdainfully. They do not even know the name of the Duchess only one province over. We wanted to ask about last night, said Zebbocron. Miro stiffened. I didn't take her, he said. We ain't saying you did, Lanczou said calmly. We're just trying to figure out what happened. He glanced at Miro's family. Can we do this inside? I don't want to distract you. Miro blinked, and Zebbocron smiled at his near slip, while Lanczou silently cursed himself. Miro nodded and led them inside. They all sat at the table. Lanczou gave him the dress. Thought you might want this back. The princess's maid washed it already, so don't worry about it. Miro smiled and took it. Well, that was kind of her. Tyrants said thank you. When he did, Cara found it very funny. Miro looked at both of them. All right, what do you want to know? What happened last night? Zebbocron asked. Miro frowned. I told you pretty much all of it then. We were getting ready for bed. Zefakisa, that's my youngest, thought she saw something outside. I decided to see what it was and found the princess. I thought it'd be best to bring her back right then instead of waiting till morning, so I told my wife and sister where I was going and found you, Miro said. He did not quite explain why he thought he should bring her back immediately. Where were you yesterday? We went to La Cara and were in town and were at the house the rest of the day, Miro said. Children played, my wife's sister and I talked. They did some sewing, I cooked. Not much came up that we needed to take care of. No one worked on Agradi unless it was absolutely necessary. Can anyone corroborate that story? Zebbocron asked. Miro looked at him blankly and he sighed, suppressing the urge to roll his eyes. Was there anyone around who can say you were there? Ow! Miro's face reddened a little. Well, I was with Gregicica the whole day and Farakisa for most of it, and the villagers would have seen us. I see. Are you your wife or your sister Soledo? He hesitated before finally answering. No. Zebbocron sighed impatiently. You are lying. Does he really think we are so stupid? He thought. If you didn't do nothing wrong, you don't gotta lie, said Lanczou, still trying to keep his tone even, though he winced, thinking of the Mikya and Elinsco. Miro grimaced, thinking along a similar vein. Zebbocron frowned. That sounds like the opposite of what he would want to do in that situation. Zebbocron! Lanczou snapped. Miro blinked, both in confusion at Zebbocron's comment and because he had not expected Lanczou to get so angry. Whoa! Lanczou sighed. He don't get what we mean when we say things like that. I understand what you are trying to say, but you ought to say it correctly. Did not and nothing cancel each other out. Also, I am only one person, said Zebbocron. Miro blinked. Anyway, answer the question. Truthfully, this time, Zebbocron continued. Fine, I am, Miro said. Zebbocron raised an eyebrow. Do you expect me to believe that? Your hair is too dark, and that is one of the worst lies I have ever heard. I am not stupid. Admit it, you are trying to protect your wife. Miro sighed. All right, fine. She is. She's as much a loyalist as I am, though, he insisted, looking up. She wouldn't betray the Queen, and she wouldn't take a little girl who ain't done nothing wrong like that. Zebbocron frowned. And that helps your case, how? Miro blinked, realizing what he had said. Lanczou glared at Zebbocron, who turned to him, ignoring his expression. Go fetch her. I would like to ask her some questions. Miro sat up, eyes wide. She ain't done nothing, he said. Don't say it, Lanczou said through gritted teeth. That sounds like the opposite of what you are trying to prove, said Zebbocron. You know what he meant. Stop acting like you don't, Lanczou snapped in dialect. Miro blinked. You're a Baraiden? He was not mad, exactly, more surprised. People using a certain word that sounds like Borneo, rather than just the usual demonym, was so common, Miro questioned which one he heard more often. He did not say it much, however, as he had never really understood what people had against Beretta. Lanczou stopped, realizing what he had done. Zebbocron smiled. Yes, I am. You got a problem with that? Lanczou said. His Ozinin mask had mostly returned, but his Beratan accent was still noticeable. Likewise, his tone had calmed, but his voice was still raised. He frowned, thinking for a moment. No. Good. Lanczou looked pointedly at Zebbocron, which turned into a glare as Zebbocron muttered a provincial epithet. Lanczou looked back at Miro. What's her name? He asked. Caracica, Miro said. Lanczou nodded, then opened the door and called for Miro's wife. She came in and sat with her husband. He took her hand. She had long ago left behind the awkward thinness of her adolescence, though was still slim. What's this about? Caracica asked. If you think I did something wrong, you've the wrong sister. She laughed a little, but it sounded forced. Miro fidgeted nervously, wondering how she always sounded so calm in these situations. Then which sister should we be talking to, Beniela Caja? Zebbocron asked. Caracica blinked, then laughed in surprise. Miro almost laughed as well. Lanczou was a little surprised as well. Beniela, and the masculine equivalent Beniario, was a combination of Benya or Benyo, good, and Mela, wife, or Mario, husband, the full forms of Bella and Brio. Even most of the middle-class friars, and the noble-born Brother Echonfo, so everyone except Brothers Agriado or Borniro, still called her Bella. Brother Josebo was really the only one who ever called her Beniela. Lanczou was more surprised that Zebbocron would show that respect to farmers from a town no one had heard of. Well, thank you. And Cara's my sister, not me. Always insisted on that instead of something like Resha. Quite confusing. I've been Caracica ever since. Lanczou sighed. Don't bother. He's gonna call you by your full name either way. Miro and Caracica exchanged confused glances. No, Beniela Caja, I understand you are Soleda? Zebbocron asked. She nodded, and Miro fidgeted. Was she so open about this? He thought. Yes, but you're looking for the other Cara if you think I'm a rebel, she said. How much contact have you had with Beniela Caja? Zebbocron asked. Miro stifled a laugh, and Caracica smiled. Not much. She don't like how I married a common Quinian, as she'd say. Last time we had anything from her was when her husband and children showed up back in Faralia to say she was with child. Couldn't even bother to show up herself. Zebbocron tried to hide his disdain for the nickname. Womni was dedicated to Faralia, so it was sometimes called Faraliamni. This was more of a colloquial term, though, like Maba versus Musica, so he did not like it. Are we talking about one sister or two? He asked. Caracica blinked. Woo! Lanczou sighed. Ignore him. He frowned. The princess's new maid's called Resha, and she's been with child since about that same time. Really? That's interesting. She was a little worried. She had a strange relationship with Cara because of her marriage to Miro, but she did not want anything bad to happen to her. Zebbocron narrowed his eyes. And entirely irrelevant. Anyway, where is she? Is she a loyalist or a rebel? Zebbocron asked. Caracica laughed, and Miro smiled, though he was clearly nervous. Course she's a rebel. That don't mean I'm too. And she's still in Carvinho, the last I heard. Zebbocron frowned. Oh, wonderful. Garissa of Carvinho. Why does this keep happening to me? He thought. First he had run into Via Farelia the week of Deoliro's funeral, and now this. That is singular, he said. Lanczou rolled his eyes. Zebbocron looked up. Do you have any idea how the princess ended up in your fields? Her shoes were not muddy, and it looked like she had landed on her back. If she had been walking and collapsed, she would have fallen forward. Who put her there? So, Caracica said flatly. Zebbocron narrowed his eyes. Answer it seriously. He found it very annoying that she would joke at a time like this. She shrugged. For all I know, it could have been so. I said a lot kidnapping. Most thought this was very strange, but very strange just about summed up Sio. Miro nodded. Louse, if it was a spirit. He frowned. I found flower petals around the princess. Lanczou looked thoughtful. They found flower petals where she disappeared. He looked up. Really? That's interesting. Then maybe it was Louse who did it. Caracica nodded. If it weren't no spirit, well, I know Cara's a rebel. I'd be more surprised if she were a loyalist. Her husband, too. He's named Fiesel. Miro frowned. Are we sure he's a rebel? I wouldn't be surprised if he's just saying that because he don't want to disagree with his wife. Gregicica looked at him skeptically. Is it one spirit or two? And is Gregicica secretly a spirit? Zebbocron asked. Lanczou sighed. How many sisters do you have? And where are they? 2, said Gregicica. Cara's the last mad of them, if you can believe it. Haven't seen the other in quite a while. Zebbocron frowned. Lanczou felt similar. Why? What happened? And what is her name? Zebbocron asked. Caresha. Gregicica sat back, frowning and thinking for a few seconds before finally answering. Miro was trying to think of how to explain what happened while also trying to think of anything but what happened. It was too strange, knowable for words, she said finally. Zebbocron and Lanczou exchanged confused glances. Miro frowned, disturbed at the memory. How did she even do that? All right, I believe we are done here, said Zebbocron. You two may go back to whatever it is you people do. Lanczou sighed. Goodbye. Goodbye. I'd be fond whoever did this. Just one thing, said Gregicica, her face earnest. If you decide to talk with Gregicica, just be careful with her. Like I said, she's with child. Even if she's a rebel, the children haven't done nothing wrong, so leave them out of this. And they've 2 little girls, and a boy's already been through so much. Whatever you do, leave them out of it. Don't punish them for what their parents did. For once, Zebbocron managed not to comment on haven't done nothing. Lanczou nodded, thinking of his mother. We will. I promise. Goodbye. He and Zebbocron left. I'm impressed, Jebel, Lanczou said, smiling. You didn't just say she's a rebel because she's a Soledo, or that she said the children had done something wrong. He felt like wincing, though. The queen had thrown Thefia in the dungeon essentially for being half Soledo, while Zebbocron had actually listened to Caracica rather than just arresting the first Soledo he met. Contrary to what you think, my judgment of people's characters is not entirely based on their home province, and I thought that seemed a little insensitive, said Zebbocron. I am not my mother. Lanczou crossed his arms, his expression turning bitter. Well, I'm glad it don't take kissing half the staff for you to see your parents are— Suddenly he tripped and fell. Zebbocron had stiffened, his fists clenched, and continued walking as if nothing had happened, barely keeping the rage from his face. Lanczou got to his feet and caught up to his companion, crossing his arms again. Thanks for your concern. Anyway, I see. It's all right to say Bavarians are all stupid heretics, but you can't say all Soledi are rebels. Where's the line, Zebbocron? His accent was thickening in anger. I want to find the person who took the princess, not some Soledo who has never gone a kilometre from her house. I think it is quite likely it was a Soledo who took her, but not this one. And be careful with your words. If I did not know you better, I would think you thought the first was better than the second. Zebbocron! He sighed. Do you honestly expect someone like her to have ever left her town? She did. She went from Carvigno to Misavigno. Zebbocron raved dismissively. She moved from one backwater village to another that is probably a stone's throw away. What about Conzi? She's a farmer too and went all the way up to Cassida. His voice was rising, as was his accent. She is from Saravine. That is a large town by Bovaden standards, which might as well be in the ground. Lanczou glared at him, fighting the urge to punch him. They asked the villagers about what Miro and Caracica had said, and the stories lined up. They returned to Casedo and told King Ridero what they had learned. He suggested that they go to Carfigno to try to find Cara. They found it, a truly tiny town with only a handful of houses and a friary. They asked for Cara, but were told she and her family had left after the war started. All they found was Isol, Farella and Ezo, the Tonataran slaves that Fiesel had befriended, and, to their surprise, the princess's former maid, Simpa, who was Isol's wife. Izo, Farelia, and Ezo said Cara and Fiezo were worried about anti-Soledo sentiments spreading because of the war, and considering several other villagers had been so creative with what they said about them that even Zebbocron learned a few new phrases, it seemed they were right to be worried, especially since they were actually rebels. The friars were in town, and Lanczú and Zebbocron asked them about Cara as well. The friars mostly just said what Izo, Farelia, and Ezo had said, though they were guessing. Zebbocron was mostly civil with brothers Agriado and Brosniro, though an undercurrent of disdain ran through his words, and he barely kept his face from twisting into perpetual grimace with the latter. Lanczú, who was very happy to see another Beraden, did most of the talking with them. Zebbocron was much more friendly with the noble-born brother Ichonfol, though he did find it annoying that someone like him had joined an order like the Deolirans, and that his name had been changed to something like Ichonfol, the poor man's version of Ilechironfol. After questioning all the friars, they returned and told King Ridero what they had learned. He thought the situation was very strange, and was annoyed that they had not been able to find anything else out. He also considered that maybe someone wanted to pin the princess's disappearance on the Soledi, or perhaps Caracica in particular. On Fralulagi, around Mandamanyi, Cara, Vericica, and Alicaria went to the tavern. To their surprise, it was Lady Quinia who met them, not Viafarelia. "Is Miasija all right? Do we know what happened to her?" Lady Quinia asked immediately, her concern obvious. She might have cursed herself for the slip if she were not so worried. Cara narrowed her eyes. "Yes, she is, and now we don't. I think we did it, though. It probably don't help that Miro found her in his fields, and the princess lost the Exalaro Gregio." Lady Quinia looked up. Vericica sighed. "Cara, she's her godmother." "Ah, no!" Cara sounded frustrated. "And the princess is just a girl. I don't want her involved in this no more than she has to be, even if she is just a common Quinian." The distinction was starting to sound meaningless to her, though. "I'm just a little worried," she continued. "So the princess," Lady Quinia said, "is she—" Cara shook her head. "If she were, the king would have burned down half the kingdom to find his body and run over it with his horse." Lady Quinia nodded, regaining some of her composure. "Do we know who took her?" "My mad sister," Cara answered flatly. Vericica groaned. "My goodness, Cara, is she the root of all evil to you?" Cara sighed and looked at her. "Like I said, I don't blame everything on her, just everything having to do with pears." "Pears? Who mentioned pears? No one!" "So why are you accusing her?" Vericica burst out. She had been putting up with this for months, and she was getting tired of it. "Iveria," Lady Quinia warned. "Keep your voice down." Vericica ignored her. "If anyone, we should be looking for someone obsessed with flowers." Lady Quinia frowned. "Flowers?" Vericica nodded. "They found flowers where she disappeared, and I heard Miro found flower petals where she landed. Why?" She frowned. "Wait, do you think Los did it?" "It is possible," she said thoughtfully, "and it is a better connection than what Cara has, which is to say, nothing." "She's mad enough to try, and I wouldn't put it past her," said Cara. "No one's seen her in years. No one knows what she's been doing or if she's even alive." Lady Quiña's voice was still calm, though there was an edge of annoyance to it. "And no, I have not found her, because I have better things to do than look for her." Vericica frowned. "So we have Cara blaming everything on her mad sister and Los. But why would she take the princess when who she doesn't like is the Arexacico, not the Gregicica?" "Well, old Silenda practically told me that Ferron's godson's the Arexacico," Cara said, smiling. "But she couldn't figure out why Los would take the princess." Lady Quinia nodded. "So what do you think?" Her tone was neutral, the annoyance gone. "The Queen thinks some of us might have gone rogue and taken her to get the Exalaro Gregio," Cara said. Vericica nodded. "Not every loyalist is as loyal as you might think." "Oh? Some of us think your bond with the princess might hurt us in the war. Basically what Cara said earlier." "That don't mean I took her," Cara said defensively. I want her to sigh out of this. No one said you did, Lady Quinia said calmly. And keep your voice down, Cara. She turned to Jarissa and Alicaria. What about you two? Are you in this group? Of course not, Jarissa said immediately. I wouldn't betray you, Madja. Alicaria nodded. Neither do I. She be just a girl. Do you know anyone who could be? They gave her some names and she wrote them down. Thank you. Course, the Queen's convinced Ferrance don't let them in or something, Cara said. Lady Quinia looked at her. What? She got her into her head that Ferrance had something to do with this, and threw the girl in the dungeon after about 5 minutes of talking while she was on the edge of panic, Cara said. Ferrance's godson tried to defend her, but I just got thrown in with her. Arexacico ain't done much, but I think it's 'cause he's trying to find a way to help that won't get him thrown in too. Jarissa and Alicaria grimaced, nodding. Lady Quinia sighed. Oh my goodness. One of us could turn ourselves in to get them free, but... Jarissa trailed off. If she be captured by those, I need to get to Exalaro, and Cara's children be not even 10 yet, Alicaria finished. Arexacico's 17, Cara said. That was the slave who had become like a son to Fiesole. But Liza be 9, Alicaria said. That was Cara and Fiesole's oldest daughter. And we can't stay anonymous, Jarissa said. Then it'll look like we're just trying to get our spy free. It would only work if we turned ourselves in. If they get a note from an anonymous spy saying to free her, it looks like we're just trying to get her freed. If one of us turned herself in, well, that's a stupid thing to do if she's also a spy. The only reasonable explanation would be that we want an innocent girl to be freed. Cara laughed bitterly. But this is the Queen we're talking about. She ain't been reasonable since the war started. Or ever, really. Alicaria paused. I might have argued that once, but I have to agree now. Lady Quinia nodded. I'll write to her, but I don't know how much good it'll do. Let's hope the Lanczú boy can help them. Cara sighed, crossing her arms. At least this proves we're all right. And who knows, maybe we'll get a couple new spies. Lady Quinia nodded. I guess so. Now what else have you learned? She asked. Cara fidgeted. I guess you'll also Arexacico talk to Miro. Wouldn't be surprised if Arexacico mentioned me, she said. Lanczú mentioned Gregio, Jarissa said, looking at her pointedly, and said you'd been with child since about the same time. If Arexacico mentioned me, I bet she also said that I haven't never liked being called Gregio. Why would I choose a name I don't like? And why would I choose one so obvious? Cara said calmly. And you're one to talk without you named yourself after a Jarissa song? Besides, Gregio's a common name and easy to remember. Jarissa crossed her arms. She had been hoping Cara would not notice. Yes, but it is still easier to trace back to you. That is the problem with things like that, said Lady Quinia. Sure, after sifting through the thousands of other Jarissa out there, Cara said. And I'm just some peasant. I ain't the niece of the Lady Soledo like someone is. Jarissa glared at her. Yes, but it's still a gamble, Cara. And you're gambling with your life, and probably your family's lives as well. Cara straightened, which is why no one's gonna find them. And I'm almost untouchable until my children are born. Not every Soledo's a loyalist, Cara. All it would take is one person with a map, and that's assuming they follow the law. She laughed bitterly. And anyone would trust them. That was rare even before the war. Really, I'm surprised they listened to Arexacico instead of just throwing her in the dungeon and being done with it. Never thought I'd say the day when Arexacico was more reasonable about this than the Queen. Jarissa sighed. I'd hate to agree with Cara, but I have to on this. You should hear what Arexacico says to Ferrance's daughter. She might not have betrayed the Queen, but she's betrayed us by siding with her this whole time, Cara said. She be just a girl, and both her options involve betraying someone. At least this one be not treason, said Alicaria. Cara crossed her arms, her tone bitter. So what? We should all just give up and let the Queen keep treating us like enemies instead of allies? Not to mention what she's going to do with us if we lose. And look what good it did her. It didn't matter that she ain't no loyalist. All the Queen could say was who her father was. She's been through enough with what happened to her father. Now she has to choose between his people and her country. It'd be a hard choice. Which is why we should only marry other Soledi. Or we could cope the children out of it, like what you be doing. Alicaria frowned. Mostly. Cara sighed. But look where being a royalist got her. It don't make no sense to support the Queen. She don't care, 'cause the Soledo's a traitor no matter what side he says he's on. Alicaria opened her mouth to respond, but could not find an answer. All right, back to the point, said Lady Quinia. What else have you learned? They told her, and then they left at different times.